Hello. Thank you for joining us on another episode of AR Chat. As always, happy to have you listening from wherever and whenever you are located. Today, we are joined by Donna Estrin of Estrin Communications. It's promising to be a delightful conversation. As always, Donna, if you would, start off by giving us a little bit of a blurb about yourself. Where have you been? Where are you at today? Where are you going tomorrow?
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks so much for the invitation. I am from the UK originally. I've lived in California for the last 24 years. I started my career off in communications, working for high-tech PR agency. And then about 18 years ago, 16 years ago, I moved into analyst relations. And then about 3 years ago, I set up my own company to help cybersecurity company startups who they don't need a full-time person, but they need someone keeping things moving. So I'm very passionate about helping create programs, drive programs, especially for smaller companies who don't have the same kind of budget as larger companies.
And that makes sense because cybersecurity notoriously not a very, happening area. So I imagine, you have a lot of free time. No, I'm just kidding.
Just
And
just
there's no
waiting
small
for things to
companies
happen,
either.
waiting for the next attack.
There's no small companies either in cybersecurity. I mean, it's just four or five big players and that's it, right?
No, so that's awesome, Donna. That's an incredible kind of array of experience, and I'm really excited to dig into that. My awful attempt at a joke on a Monday notwithstanding. But one of the ways we always like to start off is by letting Crystal kind of ask a question that's near and dear to her heart. And so I say, let's start there, and then let's dig into some of your past and your current life, and we'll see where it goes.
Donna, you have a bit of a reputation for being the AR maker. One of our guests before you was talking about how you really, actually, a couple of AR people had actually said that you were the one that showed them the ropes and like queen of the AR makers. So the rumor starts now.
I think basically you're saying because I'm old and I've been in the industry a long time, but that's fine. I really, yeah, I really would.
Crystal said that on her own. I had no association with it. It's
I
all Crystal.
I don't know. I thought I was giving you a crown.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I would say one of my qualities is staying in touch with a lot of people. And so over the years, over the last 16, 18 years that I've been working in analyst relations, I've touched paths with a number of people. And then once you're connected to me as Crystal, because we've known each other probably 16 years as well. Once you're connected to me, I'm always pinging you. I'm always following up. I'm always trying to meet up with people at events. And I also do like to mentor.
Me enough.
Yeah, I like to mentor younger people and get them into the industry as well.
Yeah.
That's
So
incredible.
with that being said, now I am talking about how long you've been around. Tell me, where do you think, or how do you think our corner of tech got started?
Good questions. I mean, I was at Text 100, a big PR agency, and from 2005 to 2010. And at the time, I thought industry analysts were similar to reporters where you update them on what you're doing, you go to see them at events. But it wasn't until 2010 when I started working at McAfee where I really discovered the power that analyst relations have and how it can impact a company's vision, product strategy, as well as be a lead generation tool. And so I would really say around 2010 to 2012 is when I really started seeing it as a source of kind of a source of tech that can generate a lot of things for an organization.
When do you think the role of analyst relations kind of started? Crystal's been pulling on this thread, and we've pulled on this thread with a bunch of other sort of your peer group. I think the consensus estimate is that it was kind of somebody like an IBM, a Cisco, a Hewlett Packard back in the day kind of started the whole discipline of analyst relations. Have you got any insight you can share on kind of where the origin story was?
Yeah, I did listen to Becca Chambers, and I'm in line with what she said. It's probably about 6 or 7 years ago, it really started becoming a discipline. I think people did do it before, but it fell under product marketing or market intelligence. And then I would say the last, 6 to 7 years, it's been really become a discipline. You see a lot of companies really investing in analysts, and you see some more VP of analysts activity where they actually get a seat at the executive board. I think that's been happening in the last few years.
Crystal, to pull on that a little bit, actually, you've been at AR Insights 15 years, is that right?
Close, 14.
14 years. And
Their high school sort of program was fantastic, wasn't it, Crystal?
so
Exactly.
You never date a woman with comments like that, Nathan. You should know better.
well, no, it directly relates to my question, Stephen.
Oh, okay.
Stephen, we won't get into your past, like.
Oh no, there's a lot more of it than that.
Yeah. But my question was going to be, and also we're not on our game today. Recording on Mondays clearly it's thrown us.
And technology issues with our studio being like down.
Yeah. Shout out Riverside. But anyway, my question being, so if we pull on what Donna just said and what Becca said previously, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 years as a concerted discipline. Obviously, AR has been around longer because AR Insights and companies like Spotlight have existed longer than that. Did you notice anything kind of in that time frame where things started to coalesce into like a very noticeable center of gravity?
Donna, you're our guest. I'll let you go.
Yeah, I think I think it just evolved as a discipline within organizations, and people started realizing that it was a function. And I mean, originally I feel like it fell under PR and kind of communications, but now it's become its own discipline. People are using analysts to get insights into where they're headed, where their product strategy is, where the vision of the company. They are also working across teams in terms of communications with the lead gen team and working to generate leads using some of the content that analysts provide. And then it also kind of goes into this kind of market intelligence side of things where you're leveraging those insights. And deciding what regions you might want to go into. So I would say just the last few years, it's kind of come together. I really think of it as a discipline where it goes across it touches every bit of the organization. And, especially with kind of product communications, the executive board and things like that.
Donna, one of the threads that we've been pulling on a little bit, and maybe it's my bias here, but the role of the Gartners, the IDCs, the Forresters, and then the kind of role of the boutiques and independents. How have you seen that? You've been in this sector for a while. Have you seen that dynamic play out?
Yeah, I mean, I feel especially with some of the startup organizations, they feel that they need to subscribe to a Forrester or Gartner. And then what happens, I found a lot, they need somebody kind of like me to keep things moving once they've spent $180,000 a year. Because what happens is if you've got your CEO trying to do these meetings with the analysts, they've got so many things happening. There's more and more that they can kind of give to other people in the company, especially as the company grows. I feel that the smaller companies, ESG, Omdia, Tag, to name a few, they are set up to really work with organizations and to create key assets. And I really feel that this content in future with the AI tools that we're using like ChatGPT and Gemini, these pieces of content are going to help companies come up in that kind of evolution of the internet and internet searching moving forward. More so than some of the other traditional larger organizations.
Awesome. It's interesting you mention Omdia there. I hear that they've got more analysts than Forrester now with all the acquisitions. But I mean, we digress. But I don't think they're a small firm anymore these days. But yeah.
By size, I think they're like the 4th biggest analyst firm at this point. Also, just Donna, shout out to the Tag mention. That is a very niche firm that's highly influential and respected kind of in the space. So that definitely goes to show your cybersecurity background. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the analysts as well are becoming influencers because you've even got Chris Steffen from EMA. He's doing a podcast, which is fantastic to listen to. And then John Olsick, he's really known influencer and he has his podcast as well. So I feel like there are some of the other analysts that are evolving and becoming more influencers and helping smaller companies who just don't have the budget for a Gartner or Forrester.
A legend on the street is the Cube was able to lure John out of retirement simply because he wanted to start a podcast.
I believe that.
Yeah. No, but that's fantastic. So, I mean, let's spend a little time here. So you're kind of operating in the cybersecurity space, which is kind of where I've been operating for the last 2 years. You named, a niche firm, and niche is probably doing it a disservice, but Tag. There's also Coopinger Cole in the cybersecurity space. You named, Enterprise Strategy Group, which as of October 1st is officially Omdia. They're like the go-to-market strategy and advisory wing of Omdia. When you think about building out kind of your roster of firms you engage with for a client, do you have any set formula that you employ? I know Steven likes to talk about, maybe 60-40 in terms of 60%. No, wrong ratio.
I'm talking myself out of 10% here, but I tend to advocate for 70-30.
But basically, what do you think about when you're figuring out your engagement strategy and what kind of spectrum of analysts you want to pull in?
Yeah, usually I recommend that a company starts off briefing the analysts. I pull together the background material, we tailor the deck for the analysts, and then based on those conversations, you can really dig into which ones really understand the tech and you kind of gel with as a firm. And then you can start working with them on different collateral, different podcasts, different pieces that you might want to get out there. But I generally think it's good to update at least analysts every 6 months.
And so would you say that assume that you have a set of analysts across the landscape. So you have your Gartner, your Forrester, IDC. Some people will call that tier one. I don't necessarily subscribe to tiers in that, in that context. But are you saying all of your analysts across your entire spectrum once every 6 months? Are you looking at core analysts more frequently? Like I love to hear the different tactics people employ. So please take that, run with it, or say something else.
Yeah, I mean, at a minimum, definitely every 6 months for these companies. And they're, like you said, the cybersecurity landscape is so competitive. And so you'd want to be top of mind. You want to continue that engagement, meet up with analysts when they attend different events. I know Forrester's got their event. They've got the Gartner Security Summit, which happens in June in National Harbor. Even Black Hat and RSA, these are just great places to go and meet the analysts. They usually do, like IDC does a breakfast at RSA, hoping they're going to have that again next year. And it's just a good way to interact with the analysts, get the content that they're sharing with you, as well as start building that relationship. These analysts have been there a long time. I've worked with some of them for 16, 18 years. So they are in the job, they're following different people, they're talking to investors, they're talking to customers, and they're tracking the industry and can really give you that insight that small companies are looking for.
Donna, you having been a full-time AR person at a vendor and now being out on your own, if I'm not mistaken, you also like working with these startup companies, right? And we talked about, I think before, how you feel it's even more important. So I'd love for you to talk about and the difference between being in-house and getting to, kind of pick your own projects and why you feel passionately about like the startup side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I was at McAfee for about 5 years, heading up their analyst program. And a lot of that was to do with Magic Quadrants and waves that they were in. So it was a lot of project managing the waves, and MQs, making sure that customers were speaking to the right analysts. We would also put on, they had at the time a focus event, which is where they'd invite customers and press and analysts to their kind of user conference, and then we do some tailored engagements with the analysts there. So you're talking kind of big budget. Then we had like 30 different seats with Forrester and Gartner, and then did some custom work as well with around forecasting with IDC, as well as some other firms. So I like to help the smaller companies that don't have the budget, and I try to think of creative ways that we can help influence the analysts or talk to the analysts and get that insight without spending that big budget. So whether it's to be kind of scrappy and go to different events and have meetings with them, or whether it's to do like a podcast or a paid piece of content so you can have that engagement with the analyst. That's kind of the challenge I like to do with some of the smaller companies I'm working with.
So
Any
Donna,
tried and well, I just wanted to ask any tried and true tactics that you're okay, giving away some of the secret sauce on in terms of helping some of those smaller vendors achieve success?
I mean, I really do feel that it's like the relationship building and not doing, because I've seen this in the past where people just do that one engagement once a year and then they expect the analyst to remember. You've got to understand the analyst is speaking to like 40, 50 different people every month. And so you still want to be top of mind. You want to be doing something creative and interesting. And you want to, I even do things like set up a newsletter for companies so that we can just share some highlights of what's been happening the last quarter. And then that's just another touch point and another way you can be top of mind without, it's like low cost. You can track which analysts are opening the emails. And it's just a way to, as another touch point, to get to reach out to the analysts. Also doing some of the paid content that we talked about. So you could do some a white paper, a low cost white paper or a podcast, and then you do prep calls as they're doing that research, and they're doing the research behind the scenes. And so that's just another way of being cost effective where you can have those interactions.
So, Donna, question, and I've spent some time thinking about this. We've got we've got seed, we've got Series A, we've got Series B, C, right up to, I think, what is it? Databricks is up to Series I right now. Where do you think you should start to think about analyst relations? Is it Series B and beyond? Is it Series C? Is there a clip point, revenue, pre-revenue, kind of if you're $10 million in ARR? Is there a sort of point when you think that it makes sense? Are any of those points sort of not valid and you should always be thinking about AR?
I think you should always be thinking about analysts, because I do think that they can help you kind of develop your story even if you're a Series A, and they can help with you with that guidance as you do develop into a larger company. And you can also they could help with those insights. They are talking to customers and end users, and they are kind of looking at the hot companies that are coming up. And so I really think you should be out there as soon as possible. I even think it is more important than some other communications, like sending out press releases, because you are kind of getting that insights from the analyst, and you are kind of correcting what you're doing as you're leaning out to additional customers in future.
In fact, Donna, I think you have a hot take with that one, right? That AR may be one of the most important roles in the early stages of um technology's life.
Yeah, and I feel like because it's so crowded, as you know, we've talked about cybersecurity. And so, if you're trying to do press or get some reporters, it takes a lot to do that. Whereas if you are really in with an analyst, or if you are included as an early stage startup in some of these reports, it can be really impactful for your business. Like if you do get to be in a core vendor report and then leverage that for lead generation, that's a way of getting your name out there, which is, I think, more important than doing some of the other communications activities.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you, I mean, what do you think? And we're talking about early stage companies here. What do you actually think is more impactful as you move through the series of funding, press coverage or analyst coverage? I mean, we're a biased audience
Question.
here, but I'm kind of interested.
I mean, I think if you do have good insights to share and you do have news that's worthy, then you are kind of, say, if you're moving from Series A to Series B and you get a piece in the Wall Street Journal, that is impactful for a small company. But if you're just, a lot of times people are just using kind of AI to generate content just for the sake of it, and it just becomes washed out and filtered. So I think if you do have third-party validation, that is more important than those kind of activities.
And in your experience, is the investment community going to analysts frequently to ask for their gut checks on companies?
Mhm.
I believe so. And then you've got Richard Steedham from IT Harvest, who's got his cybersecurity yearbook, and he's got the app, and he's tracking every company in cybersecurity the whole time. And so investors and bigger companies are kind of looking at that kind of data as they're making choices in future about who they're going to invest in, who could be a potential acquisition target.
Donna, you said something really important about how that third party validation is so important, right? And in the world of AI, right? Where there is so much information that we have to cut through. If you've heard of an analyst before and they're in the publications that you value, and they endorse and give you 3 or 2 credible reasons why they endorse that is in the vein of what you're looking for, you're gonna go with that because it's someone that you respect and is co-signed by institutions that you respect. So it just goes to show that it's not about just saying lots of things, it's who's saying it, where they're saying it, and then also what they're saying as well. It just becomes even more important.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think we highlighted Ed Amoroso from Tag. You know, he was a CISO at AT&T for a long time. So a lot of people do really value what he says and the content that he puts out.
Donna, I
And I-
just want to take you back to something you mentioned. You mentioned kind of analyst to influencer. I think some of people in the analyst community really don't like that phrase, don't like influencer. But I think if you're influencing markets, then you're an influencer, whether that's financial markets or buyer behavior or, purchasing decisions or M&A activity. Can you talk a little bit more about kind of how you see the role of the analyst evolving? Because I think there's a lot in there, and probably the way you're spending money and the way you're interacting probably gives you an interesting perspective there, I think.
Yeah, I do think the role is changing. I do think bigger firms such as Gartner and Forrester are becoming less important, and some of the like other companies we've been talking about, because the analysts are a bit more freed up to talk about what they want to talk about and who they want to work with. And so I do think they're becoming, they're looking at different ways to add value to smaller companies rather than stick with the traditional model, which is buy the seat, get access to research, and get to access to analysts. I think that is evolving. And, some of the analysts, becoming people that they want to work with these small companies. They want to help them out. They want to give guidance and they want to add content to them and do a more flexible model than like the traditional bigger firms.
Mm.
It's really interesting. I've never thought about the journey of the analyst changing as the journey of the AR professional changes, right? And I actually, Donna, when you were talking about early days in, with my romanticism of the past, it really makes me realize it is all about a maturity trajectory, right? Where it was like, okay, when you were at McAfee, it was like we did these reports and we project managed. And then at some point, someone said, like, there's a lot more goodness we can get. What if we got this information 6 months before? And then I'm sure the analysts were like, I would love to talk to you 6 months before, you go to market. And so it's just really interesting to think how the whole industry is maturing together. And it's actually created the pathway for people like Steven, right? To be an independent analyst and say, well, I don't necessarily need to do this long form stuff. I can actually get in at this other level and provide value here. So it's almost like I want to see a visualization of this historical evolution of maturity in AR and the analyst impact into tech.
I think the key thing there is I think we can over rotate into the new, and there's always a recency bias. You still need good market analysis. You still need customer insights. You still need competitive stuff. Still need, get in market share data from IDC. So I don't think it's an either or. I don't think this
Right.
stuff is going away and being replaced by the new stuff.
And
It's building on top of it. So there's lots of discussions, and I'm probably in half of them, about the role of Gartner. Gartner is staying where it is. They've got a lock on the customer. They've got a really good lock on that customer insight. I think that foundational layer is staying. I think what we're talking about is adding different things on top of that layer. I think if you think that the Gartner insight into end user customers is going away and is going to be replaced by some guy who's got a podcast, that's a bit jarring.
I
But
think
you do need the guy who's got the podcast and the Gartner insights. It's not either or, it's a both and.
I'm sure
Yeah.
you could make an analogy with medicine here, right? You have your general practitioner and then you have your specialists. And I'm not saying that Gardner is the general practitioner, but I mean it is literally different firms and different individuals for different objectives. I mean, if you want really good go to market advice, strategy, deliverables like Enterprise Strategy Group, the artist formerly known as Enterprise Strategy Group, like the excellent choice. If you want to talk to people that are likely talking to the Fortune 100, Fortune 1000, you know, that is Gartner. If you want a cybersecurity specialist, there are again Tag, Coopinger Cole that have very deep expertise in the things they cover, like identity, for example.
Yeah, I agree. I do still think there is a place for the Gartners and the ones that and IDC does an excellent job in market sizing. I do think some of the content and way that people are digesting those insights and that data is changing. I don't think people really want to have a 60-page document and go troll through that. They want snippets of information. They want the kind of 20-minute podcast. They want a little short video, or they want just a summary page and or a quick case study. They don't want a lot of information at the same time. So I feel that's changing across the board.
100%. I think the way we consume information is changing. And to be fair, if we're again talking about Gartner, I think they've known about this for a while. I mean, I think everyone has. They tried to launch or have launched interactive MQs, right? You don't when you're in the website behind the paywall, you click on an MQ, it brings you to a more interactive page. It's you have to go the additional step to go read the full PDF. So I think a challenge for all analyst firms is going to be figuring out what forms of content, how to deliver it. You know, I think that's what's fascinating right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Donna, I would love to this is a curveball for everyone because I feel like we've been heavy in cyber talk and change. Like, tell me a fun story. Like, you probably have some great ones about your clients or your time at McAfee, and it was like, oh my gosh, we were able to do this really great thing. Not to put you on the spot, and I hope you're not okay, frozen. Okay, yeah. I
Yeah,
love
I mean,
celebrating AR wins because we don't get to do it as much as we really should because you guys are doing these magic wands all over the place. So,
yeah, I mean, definitely at the bigger companies when we were in the MQs or in waves, that was definitely a win. But now with the smaller companies, if they're mentioned in, I did get one of my clients in a Forrester Wave report. They're a small company. They're just in Series B. And it was really based on my relationship with the analysts at the time. I got them face-to-face meetings, RSA, and then we kind of built on that relationship. And then they did actually get a placement in the wave. And now that analyst is kind of one of the analyst is not with Forrester anymore, but they are an advisor. So that's kind of a built on the relationship that I've had for a long time. And now they're kind of able to take advantage of that. So that's really thrilling when you get get one of your clients in these reports. And then there's also some clients that get placed in the cool vendor reports, which is excellent as well, because that does generate a lot of leads. That is a real achievement. And to actually, because I know that Gartner, they kind of get everyone together, they vote on who they want to include. So I love being successful and having my clients in these reports, as well as generating leads for them. But I think it's all about relationships and building relationships over the time period. And so that's why I'm saying I'm really good at staying in touch with people. I stay in touch with a lot of the analysts, and I'm able to help out my clients based on those relationships.
yeah, I love that because it's so easy to over index on quick, fast content. But relationships are not quick, they're not fast. They are built through the trenches of different journeys that we all take together. So Donna, any predictions for the future? Yeah, we are off of our game. Mondays are not it for us, huh? Any predictions for the future for AR or aspirations for the practice?
I mean, I would love to. I'm doing some more mentoring. I teach some of the other people that I know from PR agencies about analysts and how it's different from PR and how they can get into the analyst relations field. So that's definitely something I'm really passionate about, and just helping them build their own relationships as well. And then for future, I don't know. I mean, I love what I'm doing right now. I love meeting up with people at the different cybersecurity events and just staying in touch with my network.
You know, Donna, we didn't talk at all about your sailing, which I feel like is a total missed opportunity because it's such a huge part of who you are. Uh, but I think we're out of time. So we're going to have to double click. We're going to have to do like a special episode of AR people and the fun quirks and fun hobbies that everyone has because everyone is legitimately a character.
Great. It would be great if you could have everyone together. They could talk. We can talk about what people do in their spare time, or maybe how sailing relates to analyst relations, or like some puns behind that. So yeah, happy to come back anytime.
Oh yeah, we should have just a fun episode. With that, Nathan, you want to close us out?
You've been listening to AR Chat, episode Unsure. It's Monday. We're off our game, like we just said, somewhere in the teens. Donna, you have been a lovely guest. This was an incredibly tactical conversation. I think it was incredibly informative. I think people can, listen to this and leave with a lot of tips and strategies to employ. So thanks for your time. I'm looking forward to hearing about sailing, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks so
Thank
much, everyone. I really appreciate it.